morning. Happy Thursday to all of you guys. My name is Starlette Johnson. I'm one of the national trainers here, and I have the luxury of having my co-host.
Hi, good morning. Tina Bradford here.
Thank you all for joining today's Thursday training call, which is the Q&A platform. Before we begin today, I just want to make sure that everyone can see my screen and hear me. To the right of your screen, you'll locate a webinar control panel that looks just like this. This is where you can display your questions, comments, feedback, and concern. So for those who are on the call, please be so kind to let me know that you can see our website here and hear us clearly. So right there in the webinar, let us know. Thanks, Michael, Kevin. I really do appreciate that. So before we kick off today's call, thanks, John, Ryan. Before we kick off today's call, this is the platform for any Q&A questions. So right off the bat, is there any questions that you wanted to bring today to this form before we begin and dive deep into what we're going to show you today? So just want to ask if there's any questions that you may have before we begin. All right, well, not at this time. Well, great. So hopefully some of those questions can start generating as we move forward. So as you know, always make sure that you have your downloads available on your mobile device. So as being a member here at Mortgage Coach, you have the freedom and the ability to review our Mortgage Coach mobile app. And also Rate Watch. So you never want to be caught high and dry, not knowing what's going on in the market. So to do that and make sure that you download the Rate Watch. And to do that, whether it's through Mortgage Coach mobile app or Rate Watch, you can definitely go to your particular Apple or Google Play Store. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a nifty strategy that you can use within your line of business. And I'm going to kick it off and provide the floor to Tina Bradford, and she's going to show you some of the great details of what you can share with your customers.
Hi, hope everyone is doing well. I'm going to bring up a blank page because I'm going to bring over my phone. And if my phone happens to disappear, we're having a little problems connecting today. I apologize in advance. But we're going to go over today the 203K as well as construction loan. So wait, we do have a question before we get here. Okay, so we will touch on that, Scott. Just a moment, but let me first start over here with the 203K and the construction loan, but we will get to you. Great. So we're over here, and I'm just going to show you what they're going to see your borrowers when you do this presentation. So I'm going to bring up my summary, and basically I'm comparing a construction loan to a 203K to a 30-year fixed. So as some of you guys know, if you work with the 203K, money's invested into the product in order to improve the property, but the appraisal value normally praises a little higher than what the amount of money that they add to it. So I did increase this price a little bit in order to show that improvement. You can see payments are still very similar on all three products, and I'll scroll down a little bit so you guys can see this is what your clients would see. Payment breakdown is shown here. Property tax, there is a difference in property tax because that 203K property is going to be valued a little higher, so that property tax will increase. And closing cost. The difference in the closing cost, and here is where I added in that appreciation and that equity, but the difference in the closing cost is with a construction loan, you are paying interest only in that building period. So whether that building period is 6 months, a year, 18 months, the clients are only paying for the interest during that period. So there's a couple of things that you want to remind your client. First of all, you still need to have a home. You need to have somewhere to lay your head while your house is being built. And secondly, it's going to reflect it a little differently when we go into the short-term savings, because in the beginning of that construction loan, you are not making those payments because it's interest only. So you're only making little payments. However, you're still making that rent or that mortgage payment that you're currently in. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to, as I go through it, if you have questions, Star is still here with me, and we'll be able to filter through and respond to any of the questions that you have. So here's my Mortgage Edge. I'm going to go ahead and start with a new client. So any of the red fields, you always need to have them filled in. They are the required fields. I'm going to go ahead and place this as a marketing piece. And this means I don't really need to fill in some of the information that's in there that's based on specific client information. So if you have any problems following along, tell me to slow down or go ahead and ask those questions in your little question box. So let's put a name on here. And I'm going to call it Construction versus 203K. Because I'm using it as a marketing piece, you want to make sure this report headline is something catchy for your clients. Mine is not very catchy because I'm not going to have it in the market, but make sure that it's something catchy. That way your clients, when they look at this report, it's something that they want to read and they want to grasp onto. Always include that friendly name. That friendly name helps you keep those reports separate. So I'm just going to leave it the same because that is what the report is about. Moving through on the goals, I'm not going to place a goal in here because I'm just going to do a total cost analysis, so it's not really required. Again, this information is assumptions based on your current client. I'm not going to worry about any of these as well as the affordability tab, but I'm going to move right into the products tab. Let's start off with the 203K. Oops, got to delete the rest of here. Beautiful. So once you're in here, if you have product templates, always feel free to use those product templates. In most of your cases, my assumption is 203K is not as common, so you might not have that. So I'm going to build from scratch. The 203K does not have MI because they are putting 20% into the property. So let's say the property value is $230 and they're putting an extra $30,000 in order to build. So now we have the 260, and I'm going to stop it there. I'm not going to include the equity just yet, and I'll show you why. We're going to go in and put that 20% because that's their down payment amount. Interest rate, I'm not in a working environment. I'm just going to use 4.25, and this is a 30-year loan. Moving to that next screen, this is our closing cost. I will use a template here. So we're going to go, let's use the conventional purchase. So throwing that in there, we can see reserves are already thrown in here as well as taxes, but it's zeroed out. So you always want to make sure that you're aware of what's in your current template because you don't want to double charge the client. So moving on through, there's no points on this one. All of this information is the same. If they put earnest money, you can always add it right here so it's backed out of that closing cost. And now let's go to the hazards. I'm going to use just random ones here. Use whatever is in your area. And then right here we have the information for MI. Hazard insurance, because it was 0, we're going to move it up, as well as tax reserves. So this will not have a second lien. I'm going to go ahead and add that construction product. So here's the new construction loan. I'm just going to copy this from the current 203K, the one that I already had it in there. And John made a point that the 203K will have MIP on it. It has the upfront and the monthly. I'm not going to include it right now because I'm putting 20% down. I know that it's still there, but I don't know what the actual costs are. If you're doing these loans, if you're writing these loans, know what the regulations are on them. That is something, because we're not there beside you, helping you along with that. That's something that you guys really need to know if you're doing the loans. Thank you, John. That way I can explain it to him. Now, on a construction loan, you have the length of the construction. This is an estimate, and we're going to start with an estimate of 18 months. And the interest rate during that is typically a little higher than what the current market is. Now, in order to figure out the payments during this time, what we do is we do the same thing that you guys do. We take half of the interest only during that interest only period, and that's what we use as the payments, because if you're doing these loans, you're aware that they have draws and they can draw on the money when needed. So we're going to leave the purchase price the same, as well as the base loan amount, all of this the same. Construction loan, let's say that it's a little bit lower, 4.125. Moving over to the next screen, the closing cost will remain the same because I'm closing it like it's a normal 30-year fixed. And then all of these will remain the same. So the only difference in that is that calculation at the beginning of the loan is only for the draw period. So whatever period that is. And let's add a third loan in here. And this is if they purchase a home that is just already built, big enough for the family. They don't have to worry about fixing it up. They don't want to really invest the time and live in their current home while they are paying for the other home. So we're going to do the conventional 30-year here. So they can really compare apples to apples what they're going to do. We're going to copy this from the 203. And everything drops in the same as before. We're going to say this one is 4%, a little lower interest rate. And then we have all of that information in. Now, what we do know about the 203K, though, is that when you purchase with the 203K, more likely the property is going to appraise at a higher value than what you have in there right now. So let's go back to that property. And when we look at it, let's say it appraises at 270. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add that 10,000 to the 52 and make it 62,000. And the reason why I'm doing this is because that equity is going to be built into there. I'm going to do the same thing here, adding 10,000 in. But now I need to make sure that that's not shown in their closing costs, that they need to pay that money. So going into the closing cost, I'm going to add a custom fee. And this is the equity based on build. Naming it something that you know what it is. And we know that dollar amount that I used was 10,000. So now when we have our loans, we're going to be able to show apples to apples exactly the same loan presentation. So we'll move through really quick and we already have our products in there. So here we can see the exact payments. We can show our clients and you can show them, cost-wise payments are not a lot of difference. What is a difference is why you're paying interest only on the construction, which is that middle one. You are also paying your current house payment. So you want to have that in there. If the MIP, depending on what you go through, the MIPs in there and stuff, rates on this one will be a little higher. But hey, you're fixing up the house exactly the way you want it. You're not buying a home that someone else has established the way it's going to look, or it's outdated. So really presenting it to your clients. Now, the 4 quadrants here are always the same, but the one bottom lower right one, you have the choice on what you're going to show them. In this case, because of that 203K has that extra money in there, that extra 10,000 in equity, we're going to see that in the net worth. So that is something that you can really draw the attention to if that's the product that you're really wanting to focus on. you can display it and show them, you know what, you already have that 10,000 as soon as your construction's done already in there for equity. So this is great for a move-up buyer or someone who's going to be selling and relocating. Contact information, of course, if I was doing a client, I would add that in here. And then we come here to the final closing of the presentation. What I would want to do here is in the notes, I'm going to add the note 203K assumption, and this is just for me, of 10,000 equity. Anything you put in this area right here is solely for yourself. It's not for anyone else. So your clients, or if you're doing open house presentation or something like that, they're not going to see the notes in this area. Also, when I come here, I am going to show the TCA, the total cost analysis, but on my presentation, I do not want this current property to show because I didn't put any information in there for them. It's a market piece. If I did put information, I wanted to compare it to their current loan. Of course, I would leave that checked. And we have our note here that always goes along with the two little asterisks. And on this, it says R or R not. I'm going to include R, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this little section right here. That way, when they know taxes and insurance are included on these properties. Of course, you can adjust and change this to anything you need. If you are in an enterprise account, you might have compliance information in here. Go ahead and verify if that's in there or not. And for this one, especially the scenario, I would explain to the client down here, the terminologies, any information, interest only in the first 18 months during the build. Whatever it is, I would explain in these little boxes, these products, because they can be confusing for your client. And finally, we come here, and here's where we can email the link. Here you want to make sure it's checked, so when people do look at it, you have a notification and how long they look at it. When I do a marketing piece, I personally don't like having it checked because I don't want 50,000 little text messages sent to me. So on a marketing piece, I leave it unchecked. So it's up to you if you want to be notified or not. And then the enable call button is the one that is that click to call. Put that quote date on there. This is for your protection. And then I could go into preview, but I'm going to go ahead and just generate a link. Generating a link brings that dynamic link right up here. And when I click on audio video, this is actually the same presentation your clients see. The only difference with this is now we have the record message. In this case, if you wanted to record a message, in order to explain a little bit more, just putting on record message, you can allow here. And let's say you don't want to allow, if you go into settings and you don't want this window to pop up all the time, in your settings, you can go ahead and click it off so that doesn't always pop up. So I know in our situation, we leave it because it's a training environment and we want you guys to see what you have to go through. Allowing that does bring up your camera. Hi guys, hope you guys are doing great. Here's the record button. Little secret, if you're recording on your computer, which is not what we recommend even if you're at your desk, use your cell phone. The photo is a little bit more clear. Have something to hold it. But if you decide to use your computer, that's fine too. Keep your hand on the mouse. If you talk with your hands, talk with one hand, because then I can push the button and continue to look into the camera while I explain the scenario. And then after I explain the scenario, I can just push it again without moving my hand. And during the whole time, I have eye contact and I don't have to look down and search for that mouse or look on the screen and search where I need to place it. So that's a little secret with recording the message. You can play it back. Because it's a marketing piece, I might add to loop the video or repeat the video. That way I don't have to push play all the time. In this case, I'm just going to delete it. You guys would not be doing that. And then when you're done, just clicking on the X and that'll save that video there for you. So I know that was a little quick, going through. I hope you guys did. If there's any questions, go ahead and let me know at this time. And if not, I will explain a little bit about the output. So if you have any questions, go ahead and throw it in there. Output on here is pretty self-sufficient if you're accustomed to reading the total cost analysis. It's the same. Up here in the summary, you have that 203K, all of the information. Couple of things that would be different that you would want to highlight is you might want to highlight the purchase price. We know that right here, this is not the actual purchase price. It's $10,000 less. So highlighting the cash to close, because we know that that's assumed in there. And actually, I can look here and I can tell I did a mistake because cash to close on these are all very similar. So I'm going to go back in and I'll show you what I did wrong. And into that 203K product. And I want to go into my closing costs because what I forgot to do is put on, let's find that, 10,000. If you are using numbers here and it's a lender paid credit or it's anything that's being subtracted from the closing costs, you want to include that negative in front of it. That's going to make sure that your closing costs are correct unless you use the contribution field. Contribution automatically calculates it in. Any other field, you must use that negative. Applying that to the loan, and you guys will see when I move over here, it'll automatically adjust in a second, but we're going to highlight it. You'll see it adjust in there. And that way we see that it is all similar. So is it adjusting? Let's move on over. Sometimes you have to carry it over for it to adjust in there, but it is a live link. There we go. Now we see that it has been thrown in there. So if it's not adjusting for you when you click on there, go ahead and push that caret. That's kind of the save button, and that way you'll be able to advance it over. So payment stream, you'll be able to see here. On the payment stream, we do know with that construction loan and clicking on construction, we can see we have 18 months at 6%, and this is the interest they're going to pay during that 18 months. So that's also in there for them to look at. They have to calculate that in when they're considering paying their own mortgage or current rent payment. So over here we have the monthly payments. We can see that there's very little difference in the three products, except for that one construction loan, which is the middle during the first 18 months. The savings over the 60 months we have here. And if they want to look into it deeper and see how things are calculated, that more information button is always there. If you do want to know exactly how to read the TCA, we have in our help button, we have it so you guys can go in there, and there is information in there already on how to read that TCA as well. And I don't want to go into it because I know you guys are all at different spots. I don't want to go into it too much detail because, you know, for a lot of you guys, it's just repeat. But going in there and making sure that you just highlight anything that's different. When I do the more information in the summary, I do want to go into closing cost. And this is where I do want to show, you know, there's a little difference here. And just highlight those significant factors for them. So cash to close is the same, payment breakdown, if you want to go in and adjust that. So that is basically how you can enter those products in. I know as the market's changing, you're probably going to see a little bit more of these being used. If you have any questions, throw them down in there. Otherwise, we're going to move back because I do want to make sure that we answer Scott's question. And just wanting to know if you want to go ahead and chime in here.
Yeah, great, Tina. Thank you so much. That was some great details. So I hope you guys really gravitated to what Tina has shown you, and hopefully you can implement that in your line of business. We want to show you about the support center and all the video assets that we have available for you to revisit. But Tina, since we're in your account, I want to know, do you have a conventional, maybe a 5% versus an FHA 3%? Do you have one of those in your account here in your mortgage coach?
Oh yeah, I do. So go ahead and go in here. They're pretty much all labeled. Look for the FHA.
I'll let you do it.
So FHA loans, I almost always compare it to another product. Let's do first-time home buyer, because I know first-time home buyer products are typically, let's look in here, FHA. Oh, and I have the down payment assistance. You want to convert that really quick too?
No, it's okay. So I just wanted to give Scott an example. So if I were to do preview here and look at the final presentation, as always, how Tina mentioned, when you are looking at your final presentation, whether it's a rent versus own, whether it's a TCA, the customer always have the ability to review that payment stream. So right here is an FHA where you can see how the payments recast every 12 months. But let's just say that this was a FHA versus a conventional. And with the conventional, let's just say after 108 payments or so, that FHA will fall off, or after 90 payments, that FHA will fall off. Well, in Scott's question, he mentioned, how would you show a customer how they can take that MI that they're paying, say maybe $130 each month on their payment. How can you show them, once that MI falls off, how can they reinvest that particular payment back into the principal? So when you're building your products in any scenario that you want to show your customer, whether it's a rent versus own presentation, how they can, in essence, reduce their freedom point by reinvesting back in their principal, you want to do that within the analysis summary area. And within the analysis summary area, you will access the adjust reinvestment strategy here. So once you go into the reinvestment strategy, you'll see if there's any MI on your particular products, it will tell you that cutoff month. So let's just say, after the payment, you want to show the customer, if they were to take maybe a small $130 and reinvest that back into the principal, you'll add that in the reduction payment. And when you add that in the reduction payment, it will show you underneath within the freedom point field, how much will that extra payment reduce their freedom point. So it took it from a 30-year down to 26.08 years. Maybe if they added 150 and tab out, you can see by playing with the numbers how that adjustment will happen for the customer and their benefit financially. So I wanted to show Scott where he would go to adjust those numbers. Once you put that information in there, press OK. Then when your customer looks at that final presentation, whatever it is, whether it's a reinvestment or a reinvestment strategy on a TCA, total cost analysis, or rent versus own, behind more info, once they select that within the reinvestment strategy, they will see that reduction payment right here that you inserted for the customer. So that's what I wanted to address for Scott. Is there another question?
Yeah, let's look. Okay, difference between FHA, MIP, and LPMI. I do have one of those as well. Let me show you that. Okay, let me also show you, if you know what month it's going to drop off in, if you double click, it brings it up so you can do it by the month. So let's say we know at 120 month, so the 121st month, it's going to drop off. We're going to go up here and we're going to put 120 in there. And that's where we'll add it in there. We're going to delete this one because I deleted the wrong one. Let's try that again. So you can really go in here and you can adjust it to the client's needs.
And one of the things I want to point out to you, say for example, if the customer maybe received a large settlement. How many of us would like a settlement?
I got one of those.
So if you received a large settlement and maybe you wanted to do a one-time payment towards the principal, you can do 120 months. We're going to pay $130, $133 on month 121. Maybe you're going to put $10,000. And then you want to close it off on month 122 back to that 133. Because you want to let the system know not every month you're going to put in 10,000, just that 1 month. So you can definitely come in here and customize your reduction payments. And I'm going to show you how you have reinvestment MI strategies right in our support center, how you can read your TCA in our support center. So a lot of great information, video assets that you can revisit to touch on some of those points if you need to show those scenarios in your line of business.
Beautiful. And as you see on the output, and I do want to show you the output here, because when you click on the output, you're going to see on the payments, that money is going to be dropped in here. So I'm looking for it. It might not. Oh, I didn't advance. And now we should see it being dropped in here.
You can also see it on the you can also see it on the amortization schedule as well. So if you did an amortization schedule, so at the end when you do preview and you select your particular presentation, whether it's a rent versus own or a TCA, you have the ability to also select amortization schedule, and you can see it in there as well.
So as far as FHA with MIP and a lender-paid MIP conventional loan, with the lender-paid loan, and let me see if I can find one really quick because I do those as well. It's one of my new home buyers.
And also we do have that strategy too, MI, where we have monthly MI, single premium, borrower paid, and lender paid, and an 80-10-10. We do have that strategy in our support center as well.
So let me try one more time. And anytime you go into a presentation to find out what products you have, if you just put your mouse over product, it comes up. So here's my lender paid MI product. So when you're in there, and I'm going to go to presentation just so you can see the output. And here's the output on this presentation. So your clients are able to see, and I do have a little video on there. So your clients are able to see how each of these different products on this second FHA, I use what is a platinum bond. I'm in California. This is one of the bonds we use here in California. I don't know if it's statewide, but it is here in California. So this is how I compare these. The platinum bond is the difference is with the down payment. So I did also put the platinum bond on the 5%. I can tell because I can look at the cash to close. So knowing your products, knowing which direction you're going into always is helpful. Those are great questions. Thank you, Scott. Anyone else have a question that you want us to cover?
And also I want to share a little secret as well. Since Tina shared a secret about video, I want to show you a secret. Tina, if you go to your home in your Edge, say there's maybe a marketing piece that you've done, and you always use that same marketing piece. Do you have a marketing piece here?
Oh, any of them that are labeled are typically marketing pieces.
Okay, so say if you double click on here and you have a marketing piece, one of the little secrets is, once it refreshes, if you put an asterisk in front of the name, let me just save, go back to home, that one that you have an asterisk will always be at the top.
Ooh, nice. I didn't know that, Star.
Yeah, so that's a little secret for you. So if you're building all of your marketing pieces, and like Tina has 51, so instead of scrolling through all those 51 presentations that you have or all those records that you have, if you have a few, maybe key 1 or 2 or the top 5, if you put an asterisk right in front of the name, it will always be at the top in your stack. So just a little secret, guys.
Kevin, that is actually a question that we can't answer for you, but if you want to send that question over to support@mortgagecoach.com, it's probably something within your current computer, whether it's something with your pop-ups or something that is preventing it from opening up every time. So just go ahead and send that to
support@mortgagecoach.com.
Beautiful. Let's stick with secrets. Okay, little secret. If you're on the fee templates and you always use the same fee template, you can go into your fee templates, and let's say my conventional 30 is the one I always use. I can do new, and instead of having it named conventional 30, and actually I like doing this in, let's go back because I'm going to do it in one of the windows. I like doing it here because when I do it here, I can copy it, which makes it a little faster. So going in here, and you can do it on your product templates in here, as well as on your closing cost template. So let's use the closing cost template. And I want to copy one of my 30-year fixed, and I want it to always come on top. So I am going to have this, then I'm going to save this template. And just like started, if you put a symbol or you put the number 1, 2, or 3, those are things that come up first. So putting that in there, renaming it what you want to name it, and then clicking on OK. When you go into your templates, that's always going to be on top for you as well. So kind of the same thought as star, labeling it, making things fast for you. So anything else, Star? Let's go.
Well, now that you're giving away all of our secrets here, let's talk about the help. So right here, when you're building in your system here in Mortgage Coach, when you're building your products and getting those presentations underway, there is a help button here. Also on the home screen, there is a help button. Also, if you go to our home page, right under member services is for all of our members here within the Mortgage Coach community. You can tap on Support Center and it takes you right over to our Support Center where I talked about earlier. We have resources, frequently asked questions. You can click here or Mortgage Coach, or you can type in your keyword, phrase, or scenario, what you're looking for. So if you want to revisit how to build a purchase total cost analysis, it's here for you. You want to know about refinance, it's there for you. If you put TCA, how to read the TCA, so how to read and understand all those inputs. Also reinvestment. So if you want to know about reinvestment, the reinvestment strategy. So how to use Mortgage Coach reinvestment strategies with that MI. How to apply the MI cutoff that we just went over and revisited. So we have a lot of great details in here for you to use. Also, if you click on Mortgage Coach, it's a little bit of a deeper dive. So those walkthrough videos that are available for you, how to understand your report, and also building your report. So we have a lot of information, top strategies to use. So what are the top strategies that some of our lenders are high producing, not realtors, but loan officers have used? So what are some of those top strategies? So we have a lot of information in here. We definitely want to keep evolving our support center because the more resources you have to hit the ground running, the better you are when you're impacted with great information, and your customers can then make informed, confident decisions. So I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out to you guys, where to go to find those assets.
Let me show you one of my favorite spots. When you go, and I always have to search for it, when you go into contacts, let's say this is when I first started, wasn't as familiar with doing videos, and it's not that one, I think it's that one. There we go. When I first started doing the videos and I didn't know exactly, what I was going to say, how I was going to present it, I would come into here. And these are some great videos that you can go in and watch. All of them have view it here underneath or a second strategy, and they have the strategy that they're doing in here as well. So if you want to look at a video and get some ideas, totally recommend you coming over here and looking at this. I just kind of noticed this the other day when I was doing it. I'm like, hey, how am I going to present that? And came over here and bam, there it is for me, all laid out by a professional that's working in the industry.
Right, and some of these are our top producing loan officers. And at the top, this is our rock star here, Kelly Zitlow. So she makes a lot of videos. So and here's her testimonies, and definitely they really show you how leveraging Mortgage Coach really impacts the business and increases their value proposition. So that's a great tip for our listeners.
And one more, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, down here is our links to all of our different sites. And I know one of these right here, and I do have my glasses on today so I can see it, is our YouTube site. So YouTube site, there is one video that we just did. And let me see if I can find it really quick. This is our Becoming a Powerful Presenter. She has some great pointers in here on how to present, things to do like show your hands, stand with your feet slightly apart so you have a bigger presence on the stage. That way you guys can be able to go in and have an impact, because even though you don't think you're doing presentations, every time you meet with 2 or more clients, that's a presentation. So you guys might be doing 3 or 4 presentations a day, and this is some great information here that you guys can go in and learn from and develop your own presentation skills.
Yeah, and Tanis Roeder, she actually was, I'm not sure if some of you visited the 2017 Sales Mastery event with Todd Duncan last year, but she was there and she also presented. And that's a great kickoff from what you have just mentioned. On our website, if we go back to home, right under the same area that Tina just brought us to, and connect, it's our calendar. And our CEO, Dave Savage, interviews top industry leaders, self-taught people, what is
industry professionals, motivation,
motivational figures. That's what I was looking for. People like that. Thanks, Tina. So he interviews a lot of people that helps within our industry today every single Tuesday. So if you are available every single Tuesday, Dave Savage, our CEO, interviews these professionals and they bring forth their best practices, what works in the field, what works for their business, how you can leverage. So check that out every single Tuesday. And he looks like he's interviewing Wally and Shane on Tuesday.
Ooh, Wally's fun.
Yeah, I like him.
So my thing on the Tuesday interviews, and this is what I tell people because I am an originator, we know we are on a roller coaster, up and down all the time. This was my to-go-to for motivation every single week. This was my must-see every single week because I always brought back something from it. If I learned a new technique, or if I learned something like getting up in the morning, what can I change and develop when I get up in the morning in order to make me more productive during the day? Some of these really, really grasped my attention, and, you know, it made me feel better when I came into work and I was able to produce more. I ended up top producer and, you know, life was good.
Nice. Well, this is last call for any questions that you may have today before we let you go and end today's session. I have no more secrets to share. What about you?
None that I can think of.
All right. Well, again, last call for any questions that you may have, or if you want to share some secrets with us, please feel free to do that right there in the webinar control panel where we are monitoring your questions. But if not, I want to take you back to the home screen one more time, just as a recap for those. Make sure that you get those apps that are available for you so you can share those strategies right on your mobile device with your customers. So again, iPhone, Apple Store, Android, Google Play Store. Again, my name is Starlette Johnson. I'm one of the national trainers here at Mortgage Coach, and I have my fabulous co-host,
Tina Bradford, one of the other national trainers.
Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in today's Thursday session. Have a great day, guys, and we look forward to training you real soon.
Bye-bye, guys. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.